April 14th, 1988, the Mediterranean Sea, 11:47 p.m. Somewhere between the darkness of the water and the darkness of the sky, 3 Israeli Navy missile boats cut silently through the waves. No running lights, no radio chatter, just the hum of engines and the cold spray of a sea that has swallowed secrets for thousands of years. Below deck, 30 of Israel's most elite soldiers sit in silence. These are the men of Sayeret Matkal, Unit 269, Israel's most secretive special operations force. Men who do not exist on paper. Men whose faces will never appear in newspapers. Men who, on this night, are 1,400 nautical miles from home, sailing toward a target that has haunted Israeli intelligence for nearly a decade. Their mission has a name, Operation Operus. Their target has a name, Khalil Ibrahim al-Wazir, but the world knows him by another name entirely, Abu Jihad, father of holy war. And before the sun rises over the Mediterranean, he will be dead.
To understand why 30 men crossed a sea to kill one man, you must first understand who that man was. Khalil al-Wazir was born on October 10, 1935, in the ancient town of Ramla, a quiet, sun-baked Palestinian city that had existed for over 1,000 years. His father was a merchant. His childhood was ordinary. And then, in 1948, everything shattered. The Arab-Israeli War, the Nakba, the catastrophe, as Palestinians call it. When the fighting ended, 700,000 Palestinians had fled or been expelled from their homes. The al-Wazir family was among them. Khalil was 13 years old when he became a refugee, crossing into Gaza with nothing but the clothes on his back and a rage that would burn for the rest of his life. In the teeming, desperate refugee camps of Gaza, young Khalil found his purpose. By 16, he was already organizing. By 18, already recruiting. He was brilliant, charismatic, and utterly consumed by a single vision: return. Then, in 1959, in the sun-scorched streets of Kuwait City, he met a short, restless Palestinian engineer named Yasser Arafat. The two men talked for hours. They talked about Palestine, about resistance, about building something from nothing. By the time they parted, the seeds of Fatah had been planted. Abu Jihad became Arafat's right hand and his most dangerous weapon. While Arafat worked the diplomatic circuits, shaking hands in Cairo and Moscow and Beijing, Abu Jihad built the military machine. He ran training camps in Jordan, Syria, and Lebanon. He cultivated networks across Europe and the Middle East. He coordinated operations that made the Israeli military grind its teeth in fury. By 1988, Israel's Mossad had linked Abu Jihad to over 100 operations. Among them, the 1978 Coastal Road Massacre, a bus hijacking near Tel Aviv that killed 38 Israeli civilians, 13 of them children. The 1975 Hotel Savoy attack in Tel Aviv, weapons smuggling into the West Bank and Gaza, and most recently, from his quiet villa in Tunis, the meticulous coordination of the First Intifada, the Palestinian uprising that had been tearing through the occupied territories since December 1987, filling Israeli hospitals and Israeli headlines every single day. For Israel, Abu Jihad was not just an enemy, he was the enemy, the architect, the engine, the one man whose absence, they believed, could change everything.
Jerusalem, the Prime Minister's office, early March 1988. The men sitting around the table carry the weight of a nation on their shoulders. Prime Minister Yitzhak Shamir, a former Irgun operative himself, a man who understood assassination from the other side. Defense Minister Yitzhak Rabin, battle-hardened, calculating, already legendary from the Six-Day War. Mossad Director Nahum Admoni, quiet, meticulous, the spy master's spy master. And the Chief of Staff of the Israel Defense Forces, General Dan Shomron. The Intifada has been raging for 4 months. Israeli soldiers are being pelted with rocks in Ramallah and Nablus. The international press is feasting on images of occupation. And Mossad's intelligence points to one address, 25 Rue Ahmad al-Khatib, Sidi Bou Said, Tunis, Tunisia. Admoni lays out the intelligence. Abu Jihad is directing the intifada by phone, by courier, by coded fax. His fingerprints are on every strike, every riot, every carefully coordinated demonstration. Remove him, Admoni argues, and the uprising loses its conductor. Shamir listens. Rabin listens. Then Shamir speaks. Approve it. 2 words. 30 men would cross a sea. 1 man would die, and history would turn on its axis. The mission was assigned to Sayeret Matkal, and its field commander would be a man whose name would one day grace the front pages of every newspaper in the world, not as a killer, but as a prime minister. Ehud Barak, 36 years old, already a decorated war hero, a man of extraordinary intelligence and cold clinical precision. In the IDF, they called him the greatest soldier Israel has ever produced. On this night, in this operation, he would prove why. Barak assembled his team with surgical care. The assault element, 8 operators, specialists in close-quarters combat. The perimeter team, snipers and security, tasks with eliminating any guards before the assault began. Communication specialists, a Mossad liaison officer who knew the streets of Tunis like his own backyard. And a military doctor, because even the most precise operations bleed. But the team would not go in blind. For 3 months before the operation, Mossad's Kidon unit, its most elite assassination division, had been on the ground in Tunis. Case officers operating under diplomatic cover, Sayanim, volunteer assets from the local Jewish community, surveillance teams who photographed every angle of the villa, timed every guard rotation, mapped every street between the beach and the front door. They knew that Abu Jihad's compound at 25 Rue Ahmad al-Khatib was a 2-story whitewashed villa surrounded by a stone wall. They knew he had 4 bodyguards on a rotating schedule. They knew Abu Jihad's personal routine, late nights in his upstairs office, watching news footage, reviewing intelligence reports, directing his distant war. And they knew something else, something that would complicate everything. Abu Jihad's wife, Intisar al-Wazir, was home. So were their children and their driver, a young man named Naim. Civilians, innocents. The rules of engagement were ironclad. Not one of them would be harmed. The operation would be surgical. It would be precise, or it would not happen at all.
Somewhere in the Negev desert, Israel, 3 weeks before the operation, engineers and carpenters had built a full-scale replica of Abu Jihad's villa. Every room, every corridor, every doorway reproduced in exact dimensions based on Mossad's architectural intelligence. For 21 days, Barak's team rehearsed the assault until it was not a plan, but a reflex. They rehearsed in daylight, they rehearsed in darkness, they rehearsed with live ammunition, they rehearsed with Abu Jihad's photograph taped to a target at the end of a hallway. 2nd floor, 15 meters from the top of the stairs. They rehearsed the exact number of steps from the front gate to the front door, 22. From the front door to the staircase, 9. From the bottom of the stairs to the top, 13. They were not preparing for a battle. They were choreographing a death. Meanwhile, on the other side of the Mediterranean, a Mossad officer named David, his real name still classified, had spent 6 weeks renting vehicles, scouting extraction routes, and establishing a communications network that stretched from Tunis to Tel Aviv. 4 rental cars were parked at designated points across the city. A safe house near the beach was stocked with weapons, equipment, and a satellite uplink connected directly to IDF headquarters in Tel Aviv. Every contingency was planned for. What if the guards had been reinforced, covered? What if Abu Jihad wasn't home? Abort protocol established. What if a Tunisian police car appeared during the assault? Sniper overwatch. What if a civilian stumbled onto the scene? Non-lethal containment. By the time the team boarded the naval vessels on April 13th, they had rehearsed the operation 64 times. They were ready.
April 13th, 1988, Haifa Naval Base, 6 p.m. 3 Sa'ar-class missile boats, INS Nitzakon, INS Keshet, and INS Reshaped, slip out of Haifa harbor in the last light of evening. To anyone watching from the shore, they look like a routine naval exercise. They are anything but. Below deck on the lead vessel, Ehud Barak conducts a final briefing. Maps spread across a metal table, photographs pinned to the wall. The men listen in silence as Barak walks through the operation one final time. Every man knows his role. Every man knows the target. Every man knows that if something goes wrong, if the Tunisian military mobilizes, if the mission is compromised, if they are caught, Israel will deny all knowledge of them. They are ghosts, and ghosts have no embassy to call. For 15 hours, the boats sail west. The Mediterranean at night is beautiful and indifferent. The men sleep in shifts, clean their weapons, and say very little. Some pray, some think of home. At 11:30 p.m. on April 14th, the boats cut their engines 12 miles off the Tunisian coast, beyond radar range of the shore. In the darkness, 4 Zodiac F-470 inflatable boats are lowered silently into the water. The assault team, dressed in civilian clothes, jeans, jackets, unremarkable shoes, climbs down into them. Ehud Barak looks at his men one last time. Tislichet, good luck. The Zodiacs push into the darkness.
April 15th, 1988. Ras Carthage Beach, Tunisia, 12:58 a.m. The Zodiacs beach silently on a dark stretch of sand north of Tunis. The men step out into shallow water, weapons dry, adrenaline controlled. Waiting for them on the beach road, 4 nondescript European sedans, engines idling, driven by Mossad operatives who have been in position for 30 minutes. In the lead car sits a woman, a Mossad officer known only by her operational alias, Lily. Fluent in Arabic and French, dressed elegantly, she will drive point through the city streets. If they are stopped by police, she will do the talking. Behind her, 4 cars carrying the most dangerous men on the African continent slide into the Tunisian night. The convoy moves through the empty streets of Carthage and into the winding whitewashed lanes of Sidi Bou Said, one of Tunisia's most exclusive neighborhoods, perched above the sea like a postcard of another era. Jasmine climbs the walls. The air smells of salt and bougainvillea. In the villa on Rue Ahmad al-Khatib, lights are still on. Abu Jihad is awake.
Inside the villa, at 1:15 a.m., Khalil al-Wazir is doing what he does every night. He is at war. Seated behind a large wooden desk on the second floor of his home, surrounded by maps, communiques, and intelligence reports from the occupied territories, he is watching a VHS tape that one of his couriers smuggled out of the West Bank that week. Footage of Palestinian youth throwing stones at Israeli soldiers in Ramallah. He watches with the intensity of a general studying a battlefield. He takes notes. He is planning the next phase of the Intifada. Nearby, a PLO communications device sits on a side table, a sophisticated encrypted terminal that connects him to operatives across the region. On his desk, a loaded pistol. His wife Intisar is asleep in a room down the hall. Their youngest child is in the house. The driver, Naeem, is downstairs. Outside, 2 bodyguards patrol the compound perimeter. Abu Jihad has survived 3 previous assassination attempts. He has lived in exile for decades, always moving, always watchful. But Tunis, quiet, diplomatic, far from the front lines, feels different, feels safe. He turns back to the video. He does not hear the Zodiacs on the beach. He does not hear the cars on the road below. He does not hear the soft crunch of boots on gravel as the most elite soldiers in the Israeli military begin to scale his compound wall.
1:34 a.m., the assault begins. An operator known only as the locksmith approaches the compound's iron gate. In his hands, a set of picks that have opened locks on 5 continents. 14 seconds, the gate swings open without a sound. The perimeter team moves first, 4 operators who melt into the shadows of the garden. Within 90 seconds, both exterior guards have been neutralized, silenced, permanently.
No shots fired that the neighbors could hear. No alarms triggered. The compound is now owned by Sayeret Matkal. At 1:34 a.m., Ehud Barak gives the signal on the radio. One click. Go. The assault team, 8 men in a tight stack, moves to the front door. 22 steps across the garden. The door is not locked. The driver, Naeem, is just inside. He sees them. Before he can react, an operator pins him against the wall. He is not hurt. He is simply removed from the equation. 9 steps to the staircase. Barak holds position at the base of the stairs, coordinating, communicating with the extraction teams outside, watching the seconds tick down on his watch. The assault team takes the stairs. 13 steps. On the second floor, something changes. Abu Jihad hears a sound, perhaps a creak of the staircase, perhaps the intake of breath of a man who is not supposed to be there. He pauses the video. He listens. He reaches for the pistol on his desk. He stands. He moves toward the door. He steps into the hallway. And then, the hallway fills with men. For one frozen instant, perhaps the longest instant of his life, Khalil al-Wazir faces the soldiers who have come to end him. He does not beg. He does not surrender. By every account from those present, he stands straight, a revolutionary to the last. He raises his pistol. The lead operator fires first. The first round enters Abu Jihad's chest, then another, then another. The suppressed weapons are nearly silent, a sound like a fist hitting a pillow again and again. Abu Jihad staggers. His back hits the wall. He slides down it. 75 rounds will later be found to have struck him, the signature of a team that has been drilled to leave no doubt, no chance, no possibility of survival. Khalil Ibrahim al-Wazir, Abu Jihad, is dead at 1:38 a.m. He is 52 years old. The door to Intisar al-Wazir's bedroom bursts open. She runs into the hallway. Her husband lies on the floor, blood spreading across the pale tiles. The men with guns are already moving, pulling back, retreating toward the stairs. She rushes to him. She cradles his head. She screams his name. One of the operators pauses. Later accounts, including Intisar's own, describe what happens next. A tall man in a dark jacket turns back. He looks at her. He says nothing. He places his hand gently on her shoulder for no more than 2 seconds, and then he is gone. Some historians believe that man was Ehud Barak. Barak has never confirmed it. The team is down the stairs, through the front door, across the garden, 22 steps, into the cars. Behind them, Intisar al-Wazir is still screaming.
1:39 a.m. Sidi Bou Said, the convoy moves. Lily, in the lead car, navigates the narrow streets with terrifying calm. No speeding, no running lights. Smooth turns, steady hands. In the rear vehicles, operators are already stripping off their outer clothing, changing appearances, preparing to become invisible. At 1:43 a.m., the first Tunisian police siren wails in the distance. Too late, too far. The convoy is already on the coastal road, heading north toward the beach at Ras Carthage. At 1:51 a.m., the vehicles stop. Engines off. Dark. The team moves silently across the sand and into the waiting Zodiacs. At 2:04 a.m., the Zodiacs reach the naval vessels. At 2:07 a.m., Ehud Barak transmits a single encoded message to IDF headquarters in Tel Aviv. 2 words. Kol Besetter. Everything is fine. In Tel Aviv, a room full of generals and intelligence officers exhales for the first time in hours. The boats turn east, toward home, toward sunrise.
April 15th, 1988, Tunis, 7 a.m. The morning newspapers know nothing yet. The streets of Sidi Bou Said are quiet. disturbed only by the police tape now stretched across the gate of a whitewashed villa on Rue Ahmad al-Khatib. Tunisian officers move through the house in stunned silence. On the second floor, the blood has dried. The VHS tape in Abu Jihad's study is still running, frozen on a frame of Palestinian youth throwing stones, a war that will outlast its director. In Tunis, President Zayn el-Abidine Ben Ali is woken before dawn with news that a foreign military operation has been conducted on Tunisian soil. His fury is immediate and total. Tunisia will summon its ambassadors. Tunisia will go to the United Nations. Tunisia will demand answers. No answers will come. By 8 a.m., the news has reached Yasser Arafat in Baghdad, where he is attending a summit. Witnesses say he receives the message, reads it, and sits in total silence for 45 seconds. Then he arises. He walks to a window, and he weeps. Yasser Arafat and Abu Jihad had known each other for 30 years. They had built Fatah together in a Kuwait City apartment with borrowed money and borrowed time. They had survived wars, betrayals, expulsions, and exile together. In a life defined by loss, Abu Jihad was the one constant, and now he is gone. "They have killed my brother," Arafat tells his aide. Within hours, the assassination of Abu Jihad shaken the globe. Palestinian refugee camps from Beirut to Amman erupt in grief and fury. Protests turn violent. In Gaza and the West Bank, the Intifada intensifies immediately. As if fed by martyrdom, the uprising burns hotter than ever. Israel's bet that Abu Jihad's death would cool the resistance proves to be catastrophically miscalculated. His death does not end the Intifada, it inflames it. On April 21st, Abu Jihad is buried in Damascus. The funeral procession stretches for miles. Hundreds of thousands of mourners line the streets. Foreign dignitaries from across the Arab world attend. His coffin is draped in a Palestinian flag. Women throw flowers. Men fire rifles into the air. His portrait, the kafiyah, the steady gaze, the quiet authority, is carried through the crowd on poles. Yasser Arafat walks behind the coffin. His face is unreadable. He is already thinking about what comes next. At the United Nations Security Council, Tunisia brings a resolution condemning the assassination as a flagrant violation of international law and Tunisian sovereignty. The resolution passes. The United States, under President Ronald Reagan, abstains. Israel says nothing. Not a denial, not an admission. Only silence. The silence of a nation that does not discuss such things. The question that history must answer is not simply, did Israel have the right? It is something harder. Did it work? In the short term, Israeli intelligence scored a tactical victory. Abu Jihad's operational networks were disrupted. His weapons pipelines required months to rebuild. The PLO's military coordination suffered. These are the cold calculations of counterterrorism, the ledger of a shadow war. But the strategic picture is more complicated. The First Intifada continued for another 5 years. The peace process that Israel's leaders believed would be easier without Abu Jihad proved every bit as agonizing, perhaps more so. Because Abu Jihad, for all his role in violent resistance, was also, paradoxically, a pragmatist. A man who understood, as Arafat did, that the road to a Palestinian state required both a gun and a negotiating table. Some historians argue that had Abu Jihad lived, the Oslo Accords of 1993 might have come sooner, that his death left a void in Palestinian leadership that was never truly filled, a void that made compromise harder, not easier. Others argue that he was a terrorist, plain and simple, that the blood of civilians is not a matter of historical nuance, that 38 men, women, and children on a coastal road in 1978 deserved justice. That justice arrived, late, on a warm April night in Tunis. History rarely offers a clean verdict. It offers only the evidence and the weight of your conscience. Today,
The villa at 25 Rue Ahmad al-Khatib still stands in Sidi Bou Said. Palestinians call it a shrine. The stains on the second-floor hallway have long since been cleaned, but the memory has not. Intisar al-Wazir, who watched her husband die on that hallway floor, went on to become a prominent Palestinian politician and diplomat. She never remarried. She has spoken publicly about that night many times, about his courage, about her grief, about the hand on her shoulder. I don't know which of them did it, but I have never forgotten it. Ehud Barak served as Israel's prime minister from 1999 to 2001. He is the most decorated soldier in Israeli history. He has never directly confirmed the shoulder detail. He has never denied it either. The men of Sayeret Matkal who carried out Operation Operis remain anonymous. Their names are classified. Their photographs are classified. Their medals, awarded in a closed ceremony weeks after their return, were classified. They are ghosts, as they always were, as they were always meant to be. And in the occupied territories, in the refugee camps of Lebanon and Jordan, in the streets of Ramallah and Gaza City, the name Abu Jihad is still spoken, still painted on walls, still stitched onto flags. A dead man who refuses even now to be silent. April 15, 1988, lasted one night. Its consequences lasted a generation. A team of soldiers crossed a sea, climbed a wall, walked 22 steps, and pulled a trigger. The Mediterranean swallowed their wake. The sun rose over Tunis, and the Middle East was changed. Not resolved, not healed, just changed, as it has been changed 1,000 times before, and will be changed 1,000 times again. Some wars end with treaties, some end with silence. This one has not ended at all.